Hi, I'm Paige with Paige's Yoga. I wanted to show you a somatic movement tonight, and it is actually called the Lighthouse. For a reason, so that you understand the direction a lighthouse moves in. We ourselves are going to turn mostly the upper portion of your body in a direction and then bring it back. So it has a rhythm that's like a lighthouse. And that way you can separate it maybe from other ways that you may associate the position. In this case, with the somatics, we're going to do these in 3 parts. The first part will be when I ask you to engage your muscles and turn. And then hold at the top of that turn, hold it for a second or two. And then I'm going to ask you to disengage. And the disengagement also is a use of your muscles to bring it back. And the third one that you may skip because you're ready to engage again, pause, release everything. So we've got engage, disengage, release. When you're ready, this one is done seated. I'm going to show you that I'm sitting up on a meditational pillow. And then I'm going to turn one leg, just like this. Let me scoot back so you can see it. So I went from sitting this way to turn the leg and around. And already there, you probably have some questions. Where should the foot be? Should it be pointed or flexed? Should it be in or out? Shouldn't be straining. So if it does feel like anything is straining, you're welcome to put something underneath and keep the hip up more, the knee up. This, though, I don't want it to make you afraid of it because you shouldn't feel any tear or pull in the knee. This is no different than me sitting there and having my knee in a walking position. What I did was turned from my glutes around and down. But we shouldn't feel a pull here. If you do, it's wrong. Allow yourself also to lean to the side. Now, in my leaning to the side, I'm going to show you how that is with a block. I do not have to stay perfectly centered here. Not for this. So if you do a little leaning, that's okay. At least notice it. But this may, for me, my hand won't totally reach the floor without pulling, so I'm just going to relax it here. This hip is turned in a place that maybe you're not used to it. So at least get used to that. At least start saying it. What I'm going to ask you to do is to turn towards this side, which is away from this hip. Now I'm going to ask you to turn a little bit to that side and try to find a place before you strain. It's really important here not to strain, not to pull, which could be noticing that in the upper back, not just the hip. You may even notice this wanting to bring the hip around, but don't. Keep the hip down. Okay, now, before you turn, I want you to find a point ahead of you and notice it. There's my point. That's my visual point, so I know this is as far as I turn right now. Okay, come on back. Okay, release everything. Go ahead and exaggerate it. Be like, oh. Okay, and engage. So when I engage, I feel all of my muscles kind of pull up from my abdomen to my chest, start to turn. You've got your first visual point. You don't have to stay there, though, but just kind of notice without strain if it's already shifting. And then come back, disengage. Careful, disengagement means to use your muscles, so slow it down. Make yourself relearn how to use them. Release. Engage. Pull up, pull the neck back, turn. Disengage. So disengagement. I'm going to use those same muscles that turned to bring my body back. Release. By now, I even like to close the eyes. What is it like to experience this? Engage, turn, disengage. Your breathing's normal, natural breath. Release. Try that one more time. I like to do these in rounds of 4 or 5. If you lose track, there's nothing wrong if you happen to do a 6th. The number just isn't our goal. Disengage. And release. Same side, so we leave this here. I say that, I get people who are always ready to go. Notice that. Slow down. What's the rush? This is going to still turn, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten this thigh. The tightening kind of pushes the knee forward, but this hip is going to lift a little and spiral. So using that to turn now, I've got a little bit of the glutes engaged in this turn. Disengage. So in disengaging, here I come back around, this thigh slowly coming down, the pelvis is back, the hip is back. Release. Yes, that's slow. Try it. Ready? Engage. Start off with the thigh feeling like it's going down. Turn and spiral around. I can feel the difference in that in my upper back. Disengage. Slowly the glutes come down. Release. Engage. Disengage. Release. Engage. Disengage. Release. Oh, now I can start to feel this starting to really release. Engage. Disengage. Release. Now, leave this down now. Remember that point that you first took your gaze to? Well, let's check on that now. Leaving the hip down, simply turn and notice where your straining point is now. I remember my first point being here, and I'm definitely much more turned and back. And that's just for you to notice what can happen to us when the body no longer has to be in a reactive state, a flight, fight, freeze. That we can retrain the body also to engage muscles it forgot and disengage the ones it forgot to release. And that is why it's called somatic yoga. Somatics, re-education of the brain. Let's try the other side. Before we just go to that, though, you may need to come out. You may need to move around. The other side is different. It will always be different. And I say that so that way we can release the negative thought that thought there was something wrong with me because I'm different on this side. And stop referring to this side as a bad side. It's not. It's not a bad side. It's not a good side. It's just a side. What it really needs from you is to decide how could you treat it with some compassion and kindness. So start off with just getting used to this hip now in that position. Where does it need support? Imagine the unconscious words you're communicating with that action. We're going to turn to this side now. And we're going to turn just enough. That phrase, I love that one, but not everybody's used to that. Where's enough? For me, this one absolutely is a little bit more of a range of motion. I sort of expected that because this shoulder blade can turn a little bit more and notice my spot and come out. Okay. That's just what's going to happen. You're going to start to notice the relationship of what's happening with your body. Don't have to know why. There's a million reasons why. It's just different. Okay. Engage. Pull up and turn. This hip's still down. Remember, this is not the one we're doing the hip up. Disengage. Using little subtle abdomen muscles to turn. Release. Engage. Pull the neck back. Feel what that feels like to actually have your neck in line with your torso. Disengage. Release. Engage. Disengage. I'm using less cues. That's because we've done this enough. Close the eyes maybe. Engage. Disengage. Release. Engage. Disengage. Release. Now we'll do it where this hip gets involved. And just to go over that, when I pick up this pelvis right here, pick it up a little bit and push it forward, the pelvis tilts forward. That means this thigh kind of goes downward. And then I spiral. Disengage. So I'm not going to just drop the hip. I'm going to slowly bring it back. Feel how much the glutes have to work with that. Release. Engage. Spiral around. Disengage. Release. Try it with the eyes closed. Engage. Disengage. Release. Engage. Disengage. Release. Let's try it one more time. Why not? Engage. Disengage. Release. Yeah, I needed that last one, extra one maybe, just to feel how much this took a while to release. Side hip, the glutes, the hamstrings. Took it a while. Without judgment, I noticed that. I sort of expected that. This side, working against my right arm, has to do that, has to work harder, so it takes longer to release. Without lifting the hip, turn and notice. Yeah, my range of motion definitely increased from here to here. Doesn't have to mean that's your experience. Yours doesn't have to be as far. May not be even a change. Maybe something got strained and now your range of motion is less. Come back and release and take a comfortable way to sit. Range of motion is often improved by slower motion. One that is not taking it to a dynamic stretch, a place where the body has to pull, and then just simply release the pull. That's a dynamic stretch. And science is starting to learn about this, that a static stretch would be better. And finding places where we, in yoga, start to connect with that, with our nervous system is really valuable. To realize how we respond emotionally, how our body breathes, how we hold our breath in places where maybe we should just be naturally breathing. Something to consider. The Lighthouse. I use it for a variety of reasons with people. Sometimes just to get them to work in their body in a different position than they're normally at all day. Try it yourself. Notice the effects. Sometimes the effects can be pretty quick and immediate, like our range of motion improved. Sometimes it can be in other effects that takes a day or two. I hope it helps. Be sure to have a good day for no reason.